Everyone has an ego. A healthy, strong ego is the basis of a successful, driven individual. But what happens when an ego goes too far? When can someone really be called an egomaniac?
For all people, that unless you have some sense of yourself and then some sense of importance and individuality of yourself, you have enormous problems. You have enormous problems in life, coping, and you have enormous problems in relating to others. Egomania is an interesting term which is not used by psychologists or psychiatrists. It actually is something that goes back to the 19th century, the idea of being essentially mad in narrow areas of life and behaviour. Egomania, I think it is the layman's term for narcissistic personality disorder. Everybody does need a degree of narcissism, and in fact narcissism relates to success in life. There's a direct relationship. The more narcissistic you are, the more financial, material success you have in life.
Psychologists have defined a list of 9 characteristics associated with narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. Many of us display these traits but learn to control them. But for those who cannot, like a pressure gauge, danger arises when the needle hits red.
Well, I just don't respect her as a journalist. I have no respect for her. I don't think she's very good. I think she's highly overrated. You know, she gets out and she starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions. And, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Well, Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. When you look at her and when you see the mind is weak. I don't see it. I don't get it. I never understood. How does she even get on television? Rosie is a very unattractive person, both inside and out. Rosie's a person that's very lucky to have her girlfriend. And she better be careful or I'll send one of my friends over to pick up her girlfriend. Why would she stay with Rosie if she had another choice?
I think really there's a sophomore quality that is entertaining about Mr. Trump. But I am worried. I'm very concerned about having him in charge of the nuclear weapons because I think his response, his visceral response to attack people on their appearance, short, tall, fat, ugly, my goodness, that happened in junior high. Are we not way above that? Would we not all be worried to have someone like that in charge of the nuclear arsenal?
Mr. Trump. I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there.
Sorry, losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest, and you all know it. Please don't feel so stupid or insecure. It's not your fault.
For all narcissists, there's a certain grandiosity, there's a certain entitlement, there's a sense of a lack of empathy. But with Trump, as in all things with Trump, it's a question of scale. There's the largeness of Trump, the loudness of Trump, the great braying Trumpness of Trump. But there's a smallness too, a pettiness, a petulance, a certain resort to schoolboy taunts. The very fact that he calls his opponents stupid, that he uses terms like total loser. These are very juvenile
And this is all
terms.
symptomatic of narcissism.
It's symptomatic of the brittleness of narcissism, because one thing to keep in mind about narcissism is that it's often what psychologists call the mask model of narcissism. It's a sense of profound grandiosity that's designed to cover up its exact opposite.
The narcissist is addicted to a drug called narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is a fancy term, and it describes all forms of attention, both positive and negative. Narcissists are very utilitarian, very pragmatic, and very flexible, multi-purpose machines. They have what I call X-ray vision. They are able, instantly, to diagnose the weaknesses, vulnerabilities, soft spots, predilections, fears, hopes, and emotional needs of everyone around them.
Yet another sign that when economic times are tough, things can get ugly. A new report suggests that right-wing extremism may be on the rise in this country. Department of Homeland Security says these groups might be using the recession and the election of the country's first African-American president as tools to recruit new members. They say there's no specific information on planned violence by domestic right-wing terrorists, but real estate foreclosures, unemployment, and tight credit could all lead to a fertile recruiting environment.
Stop being gilded, domesticated garbage. Stop being weak. And when you see a threat come down on you, deal with it. Become a human again. Stop being weak. We got a bunch of criminals coming down on us. God. Ugh. Murdering scum. I want to get humanity awake. I want to get our forces up. And I want to bring these people to justice, and you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I want to unleash humanity, not have a bunch of con artists, pot-bellied, chicken-neck pieces of garbage running our world. More importantly, they act like effeminate, cowardly chicken necks because they want to train you to act like that. They want to train you to be weak.
Last year, the Southern Poverty Law Center counted 1,360 of these groups, an all-time high. Only 149 existed when Barack Obama won the presidency in 2008.
A careful observer can use a respect scale to find how many citizens get an even break. As a community moves towards despotism, respect is restricted to fewer people. A community is low on a respect scale if common courtesy is withheld from large groups of people on account of their political attitudes.
We're not going to change the deal.
We're at a Trump rally?
We're not going to change
Ditch those.
the deal. We're going to say
Ditch
that,
them.
you know, when you think of it, all of
Do you
the
disagree with
things
this?
that we all want.
Yeah, I said bitches. Very simple.
Perhaps the most disturbing theme of the 2016 election so far has been the incidents of violence and verbal abuse hurled in the direction of protesters at Donald Trump rallies. Over and over again, with increasing frequency over the past several months, often seemingly encouraged at the podium by Trump himself, these incidents are happening against the backdrop of two other equally disturbing phenomena. A growing list of avowed white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists who have thrown their support behind Donald Trump. We know that one of the men pushing that young woman who is wearing a great Make America Great Again hat is Matthew Heimbach, an unapologetic white supremacist and neo-Nazi, the leader of the Traditionalist Worker Party. Last October, he tweeted, "Guess what, Jews, we're back," with a picture of him standing outside the Holocaust Museum.
You like the event?
You bet I liked it.
Yeah? What'd you like about it?
Knocking the hell out of that big mouth. We don't know who he is, but we know he's not acting like an American.
So you deserved it?
Every bit of it.
What was that?
Yes, he deserved it. The next time we see him, we might have to kill him.
If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees, I promise. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. That's true. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
I want to turn to George Wallace's daughter, Peggy Wallace Kennedy, who told BuzzFeed she compared her father to Donald Trump, saying, quote, "There are a great deal of similarities as it relates to their style and political strategies. The two of them, they have adopted the notion that fear and hate are the two greatest motivators of voters." She went on to say, quote, "They both can draw a crowd and work up a crowd. My father was a very fiery and emotional speaker and was able to tap into the fears of the poor and working class white people." But Peggy Wallace Kennedy said her father may have actually been less extreme than Trump.
You know what it's like to go to sleep every night knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers and you bastards are probably going to end up killing me one day? You know what it's like knowing you've ruined my life? You know what it's like, you sons of bitches? I'm tired of your crap! You commit evil, you're part of an evil system, and we're standing up against you. And the Republic is going to defeat you in the end. Well, Donald Trump, let me say this. My audience, I'd say 90% supports you. Okay? And you definitely have shown your knowledge of geopolitical systems.
We problem in this country, it's called Muslims. We know our current president is one. Right. You know he's not even an American.
We need this
birth
question.
certificates, man. But anyway, we have training camps growing where they want to kill us. That's my question. When can we get rid of
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things.
A lot of people say, no, he's just doing it to get votes. He's doing it to get votes. I want to read you guys this. It's from the very first article the New York Times wrote about Hitler. This is from November 21st, 1922. They said, several sources confirmed the idea that Hitler's anti-Semitism was not genuine or violent. It was merely using anti-Semitic propaganda as a bait to catch masses of followers and keep them aroused, enthusiastic, and in line. You must feed the masses with cruder morsels and ideas like anti-Semitism.
Well, fascism is a mass nationalist movement intended to restore a country that's been damaged or is in decline by expansion, by violent attacks on enemies, internal as well as external.
The Nazi vote had dropped to 33% in the November 1932 election. It looked like their support had peaked. But powerful figures on the traditional right still felt they had to negotiate with Hitler. They too wanted to eliminate democracy and destroy the communists. And without Hitler and the Nazis, they had no access to mass support. A former chancellor, the aristocratic von Papen, came up with a deal. Hitler could be chancellor if he, von Papen, was vice-chancellor, and there were only 2 other Nazis in the cabinet, surrounded by more traditional conservatives. The theory was Hitler would be tamed. As a result, Hindenburg offered Adolf Hitler the chancellorship on January the 30th, 1933. Von Papen crowed, "We've hired him," and the new cabinet posed for the cameras. The Nazis would later try and rewrite history to say that Hitler became chancellor simply because it was his destiny. But in reality, Hitler had been helped into power by economic circumstance and the support and miscalculation of others.
I'll support the Republican nominee.
Senator Cruz, yes or no, you will support Donald Trump if he's the nominee?
Yes, because I gave my word that I would.
Governor Kasich, yes or no, would you support Donald Trump as the Republican nominee?
Yeah, but I kind of think that before it's all said and done, I'll be the nominee.
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred there. There's a tremendous hatred. We have to get to the bottom of it. There is an unbelievable hatred of us.
God bless Donald Trump. Fuck Islam. Fuck Islam. God bless Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. Why aren't we letting people in from Europe? Tremendous people, hard-working people. Nobody wants to talk this. Nobody wants to say it.
You have to take out their families. When you get these terrorists, you have to take out their families.
We would never minimize the threat of, Islamic terrorism in this country.
Sure.
9/11 is, the Pearl Harbor of our generation. At the same time, there have been many more right-wing plots than there have been Islamic plots since that period of time.
You look at what's going on. You have a president that doesn't even want to talk about, the radical Muslim stuff. He doesn't want to mention the word. Well, they want to blow up our cities and they want to blow up our country. That's our number one problem. The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East.
You're going to have a deportation force.
Now he is praising a program whose official name considers what's currently considered an offensive slur, Operation Wetback. Humanitarian complaints were raised as some deportees were sent back to Mexico aboard what a congressional investigation described as a slave ship.
Many of the Mexicans that were rounded up had their heads shaved. Many were beaten and abused. There's incidents in 1955 of Mexicans that died in the desert because they were pushed out of the United States.
I want to mention again about the Trump immigration plan. I mean, it's just really amazing what's going on, and I kind of, my own view on Trump's evolving. I've said from the beginning that I think his campaign is good in the sense that he's bringing these issues to a discussion, which we have to have in America. And he's continuing to move the envelope further, and I think he understands the real sentiment of America. Like I say, I don't know whether it's intentional or sincere, or whether it's simply a means, because this is his only path to the possible nomination of the Republican Party, and his only path possibly to the presidency. So although we can't trust him to do what he says, the other Republican candidates won't even say what he says. So he's certainly the best of the lot.
I'm Jared Taylor with American Renaissance. I urge you to vote for Donald Trump because he is the one candidate who points out that we should accept immigrants who are good for America. We don't need Muslims. We need smart, well-educated white people who will assimilate to our culture. Vote Trump.
It's the same issue. It's the same ideas. It's the same values. I'm glad to see Trump is revitalizing some of this, even though this has already started. The truth is, we've been working on this. My YouTube videos now get 1.2 billion views. The support we get on our websites is amazing. We are growing. There is a rising European American consciousness.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists.
The question from the Anti-Defamation League is, even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say, unequivocally, you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about.
The degree to which white nationalists, white supremacists, and the white power movement have latched onto Donald Trump's campaign, it's starting to become an unignorable problem for his campaign. And then today came the reports that Donald Trump's son, who's an active part of his father's campaign, he allegedly gave an interview to a white supremacist radio host. A radio host who spent 3 hours on Saturday broadcasting his white power radio show from inside a Donald Trump event in Memphis.
In these crowds and fanatical adulation, there's a growing undercurrent of extremist support.
Can you not speak in English?
Last week at Trump's rally in Alabama, a supporter shouted white power during the speech.
So,
the neo-Nazi website Daily Stormer says Trump is the only candidate talking about anything at all that matters. And the white nationalist organization American Renaissance says Trump may be the last hope for a president who would be good for white people.
He uses stereotypes that degrade people like Latinos. So while Donald Trump is not a hardcore hate monger at all, he is someone who is not above using messages that appeal to those who are.
I feel, as of this moment, I think that it is in the interest of the white race to support Donald Trump.
To me, it's like, well, if anyone ever could have been compared to Hitler, it is Donald Trump. You know, he's got Hitler-sized crowds, right? Tens of thousands of people showing up at his rallies. That's Hitlerish to me, in my opinion. When I see videos of the Third Reich, what do I see? Tens of thousands of people gathered together. And, you know, these crowds Trump has are like 95% white, you know, it's just great. And he's just so authoritarian and forceful.
In the current issue of Vanity Fair, the author Marie Brenner says that you read from Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, and that these are speeches that you seem to admire. What's your reaction? Do you have this book? Do you have these speeches?
It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Should there be a database system that tracks the Muslims here in this country?
There should be a lot of systems beyond database. I mean, we should have a lot of systems. And today you can do it.
That interview and that story have had a big impact today, as you can see from all the headlines about it. Also from responses like this one from one American Jewish group, which said in response to this Yahoo News article, quote, registering everyone of a certain religion to a list? We've seen that. It doesn't end well.
Speaking in Rock Hill, South Carolina, Trump began repeating his call to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. and said Syrian refugees are probably tied to the Islamic State. At that point, Rose Hamid, a flight attendant, and Marty Rosenbluth, an attorney, stood up in silent protest. Both wore yellow badges with the word Muslim, an intentional reference to the yellow star badges Jews were forced to wear under the Nazis.
Donald Trump, though, hasn't ruled out a special ID for Muslims, saying in an interview that, quote, we're going to have to do things that we've never did before.
Trump is connecting with people. He's connecting to their dark side. He's connecting to all their fears, the same way Adolf Hitler did. In Hitler's day, it was the foreigner, the immigrant, the Jew, the liberal, the communist, the other among us. Hitler united the German people, whether they knew it or not at the time, on that basis, on the basis of we have enemies within the country who are eating us alive, who are destroying us, who are killing us. We have to stop them.
One of the deported Jewish families had a son living illegally in Paris, a 17-year-old boy, Herschel Greenspan. On November the 3rd, Greenspan got a postcard from Poland with an anguished plea for help from his sister. 4 days later, the impoverished and desperate teenager, unable to leave France and help his family, went to the German embassy in Paris and shot a young diplomat, Ernst von Rath. 2 bullets hit him but did not kill him. Greenspan allowed himself to be arrested. A day later, the teenager made an eloquent plea. I was not motivated by hatred, but by love for my father and my people, who have endured unbearable suffering, he said. To be Jewish is not a crime. We are not animals. The Jewish people have a right to live. In Nazi Germany, where to be Jewish was a crime, propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels saw the shooting as an opportunity not to be wasted. He ordered all German newspapers to put the story on their front pages, as an incitement against German Jewry.
We have to be very strong in terms of looking at the mobs. You have many, many people, thousands of people already in our country that are sick with hate. And people that are around him, Muslims, know who they are, largely. They know who they are. They have to turn them in. They know who they are. They see them.
The Muslims have to turn people in. The Muslims, you will find out. Now, all sorts of things will be said about this guy, and people would say, oh, gee, why didn't we get him? They have to turn people in. Right. You're going to find out with this savage that did this horrible thing over the weekend that many people said, oh, I knew that was going to happen. They've got to report him because the Muslims are the ones that see what's going on, and if they don't report him, then there have to be consequences to them.
To the Freikorps, who celebrated in Munich after the suppression of the Räterepublik, the Jews were convenient scapegoats, held to blame for all the country's ills. And the Freikorps had the support of right-wing officers in the regular army, like Captain Ernst Röhm, a man with a simple philosophy.
Since I am an immature and wicked man, war and unrest appeal to me more than good bourgeois order. Brutality is respected. The people need wholesome fear. They want to fear something. They want someone to frighten them and make them shudderingly submissive.
Hitler said that he was the strong man who could solve the economic crisis. At the head of a dynamic party that promised it would destroy Germany's internal enemies and rebuild the country around national unity.
But we're fighting a very politically correct war.
Yeah. Well, we see that
and the
happening
other
in
thing is with the terrorists, you have to take out their families. When you get these terrorists, you have to take out their families.
You have to wipe out their homes where they came from. You have to absolutely wipe them out. It's the only way you're going to stop terrorism.
Are you in favor of bombing terrorist homes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. People will continue to reproduce and they will raise children in their beliefs.
Why, did somebody tell ISIS, look, we're going to treat your guys well. Will you please do us a favor and treat our guys well? They don't do that. We are playing by rules, but they have no rules. It's very hard to win.
Isn't that what separates us from the savages?
No, I don't think so. No, we have to beat the savages.
And therefore throw all rules out?
We have to beat the savages.
By being savages?
No, well, look, you have to play the game the way they're playing the game.
I'd like you to answer the question, how do you feel about waterboarding? I said I feel great about it. I feel good. I said I feel great. And then I said something that got me in a minor bit of trouble because it wasn't politically correct. I said, but I think we should go much, much, much further than waterboarding.
I would bomb the shit out of them. And that's right. I'd blow up the pipes. I'd blow up the I'd blow up every single inch. There would be nothing left.
When the unemployed Dr. Joseph Goebbels found his cult figure, he felt called by God. This man was his Messiah.
Diary entry, November 6th, 1925. And those big blue eyes like stars. He is pleased to see me. I am filled with happiness. He is there. He shakes my hand. Then he talks for half an hour with wit, irony, humor, sarcasm, earnestness, fire, passion. This man has all the qualities of a king, the born champion of the people, the future dictator.
The longing for a strong man. The yearning for strong words.
Die engsten Mitarbeiter des Führers schauen auf ihn und finden in seinem Gesicht Kraft und Stärke und Zuversicht.
Ein Mann von wahrhaft säkularer Größe.
A power scale is another important yardstick of despotism. It gauges the citizens' share in making the community's decisions. Communities which concentrate decision-making in a few hands rate low on a power scale and are moving towards despotism. Today, democracy can ebb away in communities whose citizens allow power to become concentrated in the hands of bosses.
What I say goes, see? I'm the law around here.
You're all fired. All four are fired.
The test of despotic power is that it can disregard the will of the people. It rules without the consent of the governed. If a community's economic distribution becomes slanted, its middle-income groups grow smaller, and despotism stands a better chance to gain a foothold.
Vice President Henry Wallace was asked by the New York Times to write an op-ed about fascism in America, and he wrote this. He said, "They claim to be super patriots, but they would destroy every liberty guaranteed by the Constitution. They demand free enterprise, but are the spokesman for monopoly and vested interest. Their final objective is to capture political power so that, using the power of the state and the power of the marketplace simultaneously, they may keep the common man in eternal subjection."
There is a trending retweet of yours. You retweeted somebody from Il Duce 2016. It was a Mussolini quote. It said, "It is better to live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep." You like the quote? Did you know it was
Sure.
Mussolini?
It's okay to know it's Mussolini. Look, Mussolini was Mussolini. It's okay to. It's a very good quote. It's a very interesting quote, and I know it. I saw it. I saw what, and I know who said it. But what difference does it make?
Hey everybody, Fascist Living here with some awesome news. Check this out. Donald Trump tweets white genocide. Okay, so he retweeted at white genocide TM, and it's a picture of a Jeb Bush homeless saying vote Trump.
Today, Donald Trump is standing by this tweet that's ignited a firestorm. On Saturday, Trump blasted out the graphic declaring Hillary Clinton the most corrupt candidate ever, over a 6-pointed star and dollar bills. The imagery evoking anti-Semitic stereotypes, and it appeared 10 days earlier on a white supremacist message board.
So he retweeted a graphic that had some crime statistics. Now let me tell you what it said. USA crime statistics for 2015. Blacks killed by whites, 2%. Blacks killed by police, 1%. Whites killed by police, 3%. Whites killed by whites, 16%. Whites killed by blacks, 81%. Blacks killed by blacks, 97%. Those numbers, needless to say, are totally made up. In fact, they're so made up that the source, the Crime Statistics Bureau in San Francisco, that isn't even real.
You can't help liking him as a person, and he has a stupendous mind. As a speaker, he has constructed a wonderful harmony of gesture, facial expression, and spoken word, a born motivator. With him, we can conquer the world. Give him his head, and he will shake the corrupt republic to its foundations.
Somebody important. He can make changes. He's not a politician. He's a man that knows how to make things right. That's my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
What, your opinion? My opinion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Donald to make me proud to be an American again.
We don't have time or money for political correctness. Want to tell me why you're in
favor of sending illegal aliens back to their home countries?
It's against illegal immigration. Taking our jobs, and they're killing our economy, and they're killing our economic system. That's my main cause, and plus the man speaks our word. He talks like a blue-collar guy.
The Nazi Party proposed little in the way of detailed policies, but it offered order, discipline, and the personality of Adolf Hitler.
Der Völkerstreit und Hass untereinander, wird gepflegt von ganz bestimmten Interessenten. Es ist eine kleine, wurzellose internationale Clique, die die Völker gegeneinander hetzt, die nicht will, dass sie zur Ruhe kommen. Es sind die Menschen, die überall und nirgends zu Hause sind, die nirgends einen Boden haben, auf den sie gewachsen sind, sondern die heute in Berlin leben, morgen genauso gut in Brüssel sein können, übermorgen in Paris oder mit in Prag oder in Wien oder in London und die sich überall zu Hause fühlen. Es sind die Einzigen, die wirklich als internationale Elemente anzusprechen sind, weil sie überall ihre Geschäfte betätigen können.
Hans Frank, who would go on to become a leading Nazi, first heard Hitler speak in 1920.
Everything came from the heart, and he struck a chord with all of us. He uttered what was in the consciousness of all those present.
This is a key insight into charisma, because charisma does not exist on its own in anyone. It exists only in an interaction between an individual and an audience.
I'm telling you, he says what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
Never been involved in politics, never had an interest in any of it. Now suddenly he is resonating. He is resonating with the people, and he's speaking our minds, our minds. When the pundits and the experts and all the people who are supposed to be in the know and know all this stuff, and they're so great, I know some of them, maybe not all, but some of them are lying to me, straight to my face, and I am so sick of it.
I'm thinking about the part that has substantive content. Crazy content, but it is substantive. It does give answers. I mean, to people who for the last 30 years have seen their wages, income stagnate or decline, benefits decline, services decline. There's nothing for the children. You know, the world's out of control. These are the people who, on polls, maybe 80% of them, say the country's going in the wrong direction. The government's run by the few and the special interests, not the people, and so on. You know, they're not wrong. This is all happening to them, and the answers that they're getting from, say, you know, Rush Limbaugh, Michael Savage, the rest of them, are, well, we have an answer. The rich liberals own everything. They own the corporations, they run the government, they run the media, and they don't care about people like you. They don't care about the flyover people between the East Coast and the West Coast. They only care about giving everything you worked for away to, you know, to illegal immigrants.
I'll tell you what, I think the media is among the most dishonest groups of people I've ever met. They're terrible.
Und wenn die jüdischen Zeitungen heute glauben, auf versteckte Drohungen durch die nationalsozialistische Bewegung einschüchtern zu können, wenn sie heute glauben, unsere Notverordnungen umgehen zu dürfen, sie sollen sich hüten. Einmal wird unsere Geduld zu Ende sein, und dann wird den Juden das freche Lügenmaul gestopft werden.
And one of the things I'm going to do, and this is only going to make it tougher for me, and I've never said this before, but one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our libel laws so we can sue the media.
Heute müssen wir Selbstmusterung halten und abstoßen, was sich als schlecht erwiesen hat. Und deshalb innerlich nicht zu uns gehört.
Well, in the case of Hitler, it took him 13 years. It started in Munich as a minor fringe movement of disgruntled war veterans, and it percolated along.
That was from World War I.
From World War I. This is 1920, early 1920s. In the election 1924, he did very poorly for a marginal party. And then you have the Depression of 1929 and 1930. And there are two things. There's this huge economic crisis with millions and millions, tens of millions unemployed. And there's also a governmental deadlock. You cannot get any legislation passed without bringing in the Social Democrats, and the middle, center, and right absolutely won't work with Social Democrats, although they're really quite moderate.
Wait, what are you describing the United States, or are you describing
the German Weimar Republic?
There was a fever over the land, a fever of disgrace, of indignity, of hunger. We had a democracy, yes, but it was torn by elements within. Above all, there was fear. Fear of today, fear of tomorrow, fear of our neighbors, and fear of ourselves. Only when you understand that can you understand what Hitler meant to us. Because he said to us, lift your heads, be proud to be German. There are devils among us, communists, liberals, Jews, gypsies. Once these devils will be destroyed, your misery will be destroyed. It was the old story of the sacrificial lamb.